Hello, my name is Samuel Worthington, and the title of my presentation is For the Defense of the Americas, U.S. Propaganda in World War II Latin America. During World War II, U.S. government propagandists sought to win Latin American support for the Allies through the publication and strategic distribution of En Guardia, a high-quality periodical modeled after Life magazine. The Office of the Coordinator of Inter-American Affairs attempted to promote a sense of hemispheric unity by relying on established propaganda devices and tactics in their publication and messaging. In its first issue, En Guardia responds to the concern over Axis activity in Latin America by employing imagery of U.S. military strength and the rhetorical appeal to a sense of connection between the, quote, independent nations of the Americas. The OCIAA frequently recurs to imagery of both Franklin Roosevelt and the language of the good neighbor policy throughout the history of the office and the run of this particular magazine. My thesis is that the United States attempted to persuade Latin America that good neighbor relationship required a return to economic and military cooperation and interdependence. So the problem of the historical moment for the United States propagandists is actually really well represented by this map. This is a 1939 map, not associated with the publication En Guardia. Rather, this appeared in New York Sunday in January of 1939. The map is titled Battleground of Commerce, and I think it does a good job explaining the stakes at play, not just to the upper echelons of government and diplomatic thinkers in the United States, but rather as part of the greater cultural conscience in the United States. We have what you would see as like a typical kind of map that you'd see in a grade school textbook with the political boundaries of the nations, but instead of population density or major cities, you see a lot of icons about the kinds of materials that are available in this space. So you're going to see icons for cows and saltpeter and rubber and copper mines and tin mines, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Now, on top of underscoring the importance of raw materials to the war effort and the greater concern of the conflict, this also kind of underscores what I think a lot of us would rationally understand and come to expect as a bit of a hegemonic or maybe even imperialist gaze in the paradigm of the United States toward the Latin American space. So getting into the publication of the magazine itself, En Guardia does a really good job of establishing the problem very forcefully and then very subtly shifting the burden of that problem to its viewer. With the En Guardia and even the word the defense of the Americas, we immediately see this sense of a collective we. En Guardia is a reactionary thing, does the same work as the fencing term en garde in French. And the Americas is a totalizing look at the space. This imagery is continued and metaphorically extended. Where we have danger and unity in the first image, we shift to a concept of danger and perhaps shared interest. This is an extension of the unity concept by evoking the idea of free commerce in the New World. Part of what's going on here, New World obviously is heavily connotative insofar as it specifically others all European or even Asian interest in the space, and it subtly elides U.S. and the rest of the Americas. But furthermore, the scaling of the danger imagery here is important. It's very direct, it's very in your face, it makes really good use of the technology of the magazine spread to say its message loudly and very clearly. Subsequently, there's a good move with this wonderful subheading or subtitle to an article about the Merchant Marine that says America means 21 nations. Again, this is a repetition tactic where it's reestablishing not only that there's a shared interest, but now it's actually pushing that interest onto the target audience. You're part of America. These 21 nations are part of America. We're all in this together. And what comes next is the solution. And the solution and the next several images do some really important work. Primarily, you have really overwhelming and aggressive military imagery, as seen in the image of the cruiser here and the battleship here and even the cannon up here. But what is being done rhetorically is that the solution is that we have the skill to deal with this danger. And not only do we have the skill to deal with this danger, but we have the personnel to deal with this danger. So these are all done in service of these kind of glittering generalities and also bandwagon arguments. Remembering, importantly in this issue particularly, the biggest argument is get on board with us. Now, where I see a masterstroke of the propaganda messaging is in this picture of a cannon that purports to be an anti-warship cannon situated in the Panama Canal. While the space of it is important because it implies all the Americas, also the fact that locals working on and having the skill to work on and participate in this wartime machinery is a subtle way of saying, we're all in this together. See, we're already all in this together. So even though the target audience really is needing to be convinced of getting on board with the U.S. war effort, the argument that the U.S. publication is making is that they're already working with us. And that is underscored even further by the final image, which is chiefs of staff of various navies all involved in the inspection and training at a U.S. facility. You'll notice the American flag back here, and this underscores yet again the idea of hemispheric solidarity and also subtly the aegis of the United States as perhaps being in charge or being the driving force behind this. Ultimately, this propaganda is important for the historical moment and context, but I believe that it says a lot about the nature of repetition and framing in propaganda messages, not only in its historical moment, but for our current discussions of geopolitics and the ways that we approach messaging in an international sphere. Thank you so much for your time.